Hey everybody, Sujan Patel here. Welcome to season 2 of Shake Sales video. Today I've got Salman of Salman Sales Academy. He's a sales coach. He's been an AE, an enterprise AE at many companies like Asana and Salesforce. We're going to pick his brain today and how to actually coach your sales team for success. Salman, welcome.
Sujan, a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on.
Before we jump in, would you mind quickly introducing yourself and kind of your background, maybe describing a little bit about your coaching?
Yeah, sounds good. My name is Salman Mohiuddin. I've been in tech sales, all as an individual contributor for the last 17 years. Spent majority of my career at IBM, Salesforce, and most recently Asana. And about a year ago, I started this academy where I do sales coaching for individual contributors. So, I sit down and do sales coaching for a lot of individuals. I've released some courses as well, something I'm quite passionate about because I've documented all my learnings over the last 17 years, and I share those learnings with everyone I meet.
So I'm excited. We're going to have to talk offline about maybe bringing you on for our team. I have to say, I'm a big advocate of coaching personal development for individual contributors as well as your managers, your team. If your team ain't getting smarter, you're not helping them, they're staying status quo and everyone else is kind of progressing. You're opening up yourself for lower close rates, burnout, all these, people, retention of employees, what have you. So, I'd say in our 5 years of running sales at Mailshake, the most ROI we've gotten was from leveling up our individual contributors, SDRs, AEs, 5%, 6%, 10% close rate improvement is tens of thousands of dollars and millions over, an aggregated period. So big fan of coaching in general. So I encourage you guys all take a look at his stuff, but also like if you're a sales leader watching this or individual contributor, if you're an individual contributor, ask your manager for some budget or just go sign up. And honestly, when I was an individual contributor and I'm not backwards in marketing, I started doing sales at my marketing agency. And honestly, I just signed up for all this coaching and I did so many things, stupid little things wrong, like at the very start of a conversation, like I'm doing today, which is like talking a lot, instead of asking questions. But anyways, those simple things just like dramatically improve my close rate and success rate. All right, back to you. So first question here is how do you identify like skill gaps with the rep, or how do you know like what somebody needs to work on?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think taking a step back and really understanding where the individual is at in their journeys. I speak to SDRs, BDRs, account executives that are early in their career, maybe well experienced. I even have folks that are top performers at their organization that reach out to me and say, I want to be even better. I want to get from A to B. I want to increase my income to $500,000, for example. So I try to identify some gaps. I'll ask them straight up, what are 2 or 3 areas you believe you need to improve the most on? And the reason I ask that is because one of the top qualities I find in sellers is, are you self-aware? Do you come into a role and think you know it all, or do you check your ego at the door and really understand where can I get better? So I'll ask that question to see, do they understand where they are in their sales journey? Do they understand where they need to improve? If they're able to answer that, that shows me that, hey, they are self-aware. They understand where they need to get better. If they're not able to articulate that in a way that gives me an understanding of where they need help, then I'll dig a bit deeper to truly understand where are the gaps. Is it in prospecting? Is it in discovery? Is it in engaging demos? Is it in deal strategy? And I'll ask some thought-provoking questions that will help me uncover where they need to get better. Because in sales, there's a lot of folks that are really good in running discovery calls, right? They can run a call from start to finish, but they may not be very good at progressing a deal from discovery to demo and demo to close. There may be gaps in the fact that they're not able to align with executives early on in cycles. They may not be able to build a mutual plan with customers. Maybe they're not able to tackle certain objections that come up during the cycle, whether it's competitive, whether it's lack of budget, whether it's not getting multiple stakeholders involved. So I clearly want to understand where those gaps are so I can provide actionable tips to get them over that hump.
Love it. And do you find there's a general like theme of gaps, or is it just always individualized based off what you hear from the rep or the salesperson?
That's a good question, Sujan. I'm seeing a common trend lately, a little bit more than others. Where I see a big gap in the market today is discovery. And we all know, and you know this from your experience, discovery happens throughout the entire sales process. It's not just one call. But for
Mm-hmm.
argument's sake, let's talk about a discovery call, which is the most common call after a cold prospect. You get a meeting with a cold prospect following an outreach, or maybe it's an inbound lead. You have a discovery call with an individual, with a set of key stakeholders. One problem that I'm seeing in the market today among a lot of account executives and SDRs is, how do I run a proper discovery call with confidence, with conviction? How do I lead the conversation? I'll tell you about a little story. I started my career at IBM back in 2006. I wasn't very good at running discovery calls. You know what I did? I had a list of 40 questions beside me, 40 of the best
Whoa.
discovery questions you can find. You know what I was doing? Let's say you're a customer. I'd be looking like this. I'd be trying to listen attentively and kind of look at my list. What's the next best question to ask? If that's how you're running your discovery calls, that is not the right way. You can have the best questions in the world, but if you don't know how to apply it, if you don't know how to action on it in the flow and context of the conversation, then you're not doing discovery properly. I'll give you an example. If I'm on the middle of a discovery call and you said, hey, does your product have the capability to do X, Y, and Z?
Mm-hmm.
What will most sales reps say? Yeah, we definitely have the capability to do that. Let me show you how. Let me talk about that. Well, wait a second. Do you understand why I'm asking that? Here's what experienced sellers do that know how to run discovery. Hey, I'm curious to know, what's the purpose behind the ask, Sujan? Is it to accomplish X and Y? Is it to do Z? Well, we're actually trying to do Z. Okay, what's happening in the business right now that's prompting that? Hey, why, what sort of, so understanding the purpose behind the ask is important. And that's just one small part of discovery. I think it's a big gap in the market today, where my last point is enablement teams. I'm telling you, I have been in tech sales for 17 years as an individual contributor. I don't think I've had one or training session on how to run a proper discovery. Enablement teams need to focus on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I think I've already got some things I want to go back to the team with, and uh, I think that like that flow and that continuous conversation, digging. It sounds like you're digging a little deeper in the why behind questions versus like jumping to the next question. And now with Zoom and kind of video as a most common kind of format, right? When you're on the phone, like no one can see you looking at your notes, and it's okay. But you're on a Zoom call, you kind of have to be like eye contact, and what you do matters. But so I want to switch gears. Actually, before I just jump into the next question around progress, I want to talk about, have you seen a difference between male and female sales reps? Do women have a different skill, weakness, areas of improvement that you've needed to coach on, or have you not noticed anything?
I haven't noticed anything, to be honest. Like I coach men and women. I haven't seen any sort of difference. I think it comes down to having conviction in what you sell. Like I always tell people, no matter who they are, what are 3 things that you should look for when you're considering a sales role, right? Or if you're in a sales role currently.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 is, do you have conviction in what you sell? Right? What does that mean? Having conviction and belief in what I sell. Do I wake up in the morning feeling excited to sell something? Am I convinced that what I am selling to my prospect is providing them value, or do I not believe in it? And I'll tell you why. I had an experience. I was in a role. I accepted a big role at a company. I went to the big OTE. It was all the perks. It was a big payday. But I realized a few months in, wait a second, something's missing here. And I found out that I didn't have conviction in what I was selling. I didn't wake up excited. And I saw through it, and my prospects saw through it. So having conviction and belief in what you sell is number 1 on my list. Number 2 is having leaders that genuinely care about your growth, right? There's a lot of people out there that work in their self-interest, that don't care about others and don't care about your success. Finding leaders that you can work for that genuinely care about your best interest and your career growth is important. And number 3 is your coworkers, your cross-functional teammates, your SDRs, your SEs, your CSMs. Does everyone care about each other's success, or do people have egos and it's difficult to work with? Those are 3 things that you should look for. And whether you're whatever sex or gender you are, it doesn't really matter. It's about really having those 3 qualities as a seller and what you should look for.
Love it, love it. I've seen so many leaders mess up this where they like have the ego and they're taking up the energy from the room and they're not leaving enough breathing space, frankly, for the individual contributor. And as a leader, you're nothing without your team, right? And you lose the trust. I don't see people gain it back. But anyways, let's move on to measuring progress. So, you're a sales rep, you're SDR, BDR, AE. You're trying to move. You're in your career. You've used sales coaches. How do you know you're doing a better job? Is there metrics? Or is there how do you measure this stuff?
Yeah. Let me talk about from an SDR perspective and then the AE. So for an SDR, there's a lot of SDRs there that they're working to get promoted. Now, not every SDR says they want to go to an AE role. I've seen SDRs move to marketing roles, to, CSM roles as well. But for argument's sake, let's say focus on an SDR role moving to AE. How you should be measured. For SDRs, number 1 is you got to hit your numbers. You got to hit your results. You got to build that pipeline. You got to get those qualified leads through the pipe. I'll give an example. At Asana, I did a training session with our SDR team, and I shared with them what are the quality of opportunities that your AEs look for. How can you shine? How can you kind of, build that credibility with your enterprise AE, where when you send them a lead, they're like, wow, this is an amazing lead. Wow, this SDR did an amazing job qualifying this. How can you stand out from the pack? So I think the quality of leads is important. Hitting your numbers is number 1. Number 2 is, doing something that is outside of your role. Now, this is not a measure of success, but if you want to stand out from the pack as an SDR and be successful and try to get in line for that promotion, do something that is not in your job description. Maybe it's a great prospecting campaign that you've run and you're sharing those with your fellow SDRs and BDRs, saying, hey, this prospecting campaign is done well for me. I want to share it with you. Or, hey, you go to your AE team saying, hey, here are 3 plays that you should be running where I'm seeing success. Do something outside of your job description that helps you stand out. So I look at some of those tangible ways to stand out. From an AE perspective, how I measure success is that I'm continuing to prospect almost every day in addition to progressing my deals. And I'm hitting those pipeline goals, because one thing that AEs are a bit complacent on is that we're so busy. We get a whole bunch of leads. We get a bunch of opportunities we're working on. We're progressing on. But we fail to realize that, hey, I still need to be prospecting because I still got Q2 and Q3 coming up and my pipeline is low. So being responsible in terms of hitting those pipeline metrics, whether it's 2, 3, 400K a month, whatever that is, holding yourself accountable. How do I hold myself accountable? I have prospecting blocks every morning from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. while I was at Asana. Having those prospecting blocks, so it holds myself accountable, and holding my team accountable, whether it's my SDR the SDR aligned to me, making sure that they know exactly what they're doing throughout the week, and we have the messaging on par. Working with my CSM and holding them accountable, so how we can ensure existing customers are successful in driving more pipeline. So driving pipeline while working existing deals and holding everyone accountable is important to success.
Love it. I love it. I love this. There's so many tangible things. I think the simple thing you can do is just block out time, right? We at Mailshake, we have our AEs also responsible for prospecting a portion of their leads. I think it's like 10 or 20% of their leads should be coming from them. And then we also, part of that is also us investing in, we get a lot of leads from LinkedIn. So we invest in our team's personal brands, and hey, you've got time every day. Go do that. But you got to dedicate it. And I find with AEs, it's so easy to focus on the deals you've got. And then you're like, I'm out. And that when you're out or when you're low, that's not the time to go refill. You want to keep that gas tank steady, right? Um, all right. Well, you've dropped a lot of knowledge here. I think there's a lot of things people sales reps can take here, and obviously go check out Salman's course and coaching program. But I want to end with one last question. How do you stay up to date with the latest techniques, industry developments, trends, and what have you?
That's a great question. So I do a lot of what I'm most proud of throughout my 17 years of being in tech sales, all as an individual contributor, is documenting my learnings. So, for example, if I had a great discovery call where I came across a situation where, it was something that I should document because I've learned from it, whether it's a deal that I won, where it's a deal that I lost, documenting that and learning from that moving forward has helped. I always tell people experience is the best teacher. Go through the cycle. Sales is full of highs and lows. You will learn from it. Number two is listening to podcasts. If I go for a walk, I'll listen to some great podcasts like from Andy Paul and others. Learning from others is important. There's a lot of experienced sales leaders and individual contributors out there. Learn from them as well. So those are some of the ways and be active on LinkedIn. There's a lot of great sales creators. You're going to stay in the know with the latest technology, with AI and chat GPT out there. Be engaged and learn from others.
Love it. Thank you so much for your time. Already a lot of takeaways here. Sales reps, hope you guys are taking notes. For folks who want to, learn more, where can they find you?
Yeah, follow me on LinkedIn. Number two, I'm launching Salman Sales Academy officially as a solopreneur. So I'm going to be launching one-to-one coaching, some sales courses, and B2B training as well, which I'm super excited about, working with companies to up-level their sales team.
Love it. Thanks again.
Thanks, Sujan.